My name is Temple Fletcher. My journey took me from an EMS volunteer to dispatch, and then 30 years with CareFlight as a critical care flight paramedic and manager. I initiated the free Cal-AAMS Safety Summit for first responders and healthcare professionals each year prior to COVID. Cal-AAMS now continues to host education on their website. I continue to teach, work seasonally on wildland fires, and serve as the president of the Sierra Nevada Critical Incident Stress Management Network and peer support team. This presentation is titled, A Different Type of EMS for Different Times. Not the beginning, not the middle, not the end. It's not the new normal, or is it? It's a journey. Everyone is somewhere in the journey. We're going to go over some new acronyms. SOS, Safety, Survival or Support, EMS, Emotional Management and Survival, and CPR, Communicate, Proactive Planning and Response. Safety encompasses scene safety, personal safety, your partner safety, patient safety, and safety of others. Our job encompasses many aspects before we can even reach the patients or victims. Think management along with safety. SOS, safety and support. Safety and management go hand in hand. Think personal management, scene management, resource management, and management of others. Self-care is critical to maintaining physical and emotional well-being. Self-care is a key component to wellness. You can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. Self-care is to maintain friends, healthy eating habits, hobbies, values, interests, sports, beliefs, goals, exercise. Self-care is all three: mind, body, and spirit. Can you think of something you do for self-care? We need all the pieces for us to be whole. Safety, emotional wellness, physical wellness, professionalism, and duty. All parts of our lives are connected, personally and professionally. We also need to know balance and limitations.
Shark 24328, Eagle, good afternoon. What's your sign code? Yes, do you have a transponder code? If not, squawk 0201. Foxtrot's current flow to restricted area. The altimeter is 3044. Will report ghost.
Think I can make it in between there? Nope. Oh, yeah, little face. Look how big that is. Oh. Oh, shit. I've got it. Okay. Get it on. Eagle, mayday. 974, down in Bagel. Keep it on the ground.
Archie 974, Roger, can you give me that base up?
Stress management is an extremely important skill to develop, both for better health and for better life experience. Stress can be like a storm in our life. It can be a breeze, a gust, a storm, or a tornado. It can mean the difference between a long career, or a long and successful career. Perception does matter. If you're looking for the negative, that's exactly what you'll find. Attitude is everything. Our stress level has more to do with our perception of the stressor than the actual stressors themselves. Step 1 is to identify the stressor. Step 2, identify the reason for the stressor. Step 3, select an appropriate stress management strategy and apply it. Step 4, evaluate your progress. Seek further help if needed. It takes awareness, acceptance, and knowledge. Then mitigation and flexibility. I've just seen a family of 4 killed by a drunk driver. Aren't I supposed to feel bad? Not everyone feels the same at the same time. And it's okay to be okay. There are things that will affect us emotionally. The human brain is the most complex and powerful instrument in the world. 100,000 chemical reactions per second. Your thoughts have an immediate and profound effect on the distribution of your muscle tone and the ability of your nerve impulses to fire in harmony. Our brain is sometimes stifled by our upbringing, schooling, profession, perception, and life experiences that encounter and exaggerate the fear of making a mistake. We learn virtue from our parents, role models, and our profession. The human brain is the continuous conductor of physical function. The brainstem is responsible for autonomic responses such as heart rate, respirations, and digestion, the limbic system, the emotional center, and prefrontal cortex, capable of conscious, rational thought. When a stressor is present, information is relayed up the brainstem and limbic system twice as fast as the time it takes to reach the prefrontal cortex. It may be difficult to access the prefrontal cortex until our stress response symptoms begin to abate. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, autonomic nervous system, and central nervous system are stimulated, which initiates physical response and the release of chemical that work together to create and conduction of pathway. The amygdala is connected to the limbic system and responds to information from the body's senses and is involved with the development of fear emotions. It is the panic button that activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. Perceived stressors can be as important as real ones. If one changes their perception of and reaction to stress, they can train the brain to respond more effectively and positively. In our profession, many too often we are not allowed to be human. Take that energy that fear provides and turn it to your advantage. Train the left and right side of your brain to work together, automatically and becoming hypervigilant for physical and emotional safety. Utilize EMS, emotional management and survival skills. Resilience is the ability to adapt well to trauma, adversity, threats, and other stressors. It's the ability to bounce back from difficulty and the ability to cope in the face of distress. It's the ability to be flexible in new or unusual circumstances and the ability to see opportunity in challenges through hope and a positive attitude. It doesn't have to do with wearing a tough shell life's events can't penetrate. Rather, it's continuous adaptation and reprocessing of events by which we redefine ourselves as the world changes around us. Resilient people do not let adversity devastate them, but use it as an instrument for understanding and change. With the extremes EMS practitioners can witness on a daily basis, our experience can either be a detriment to our coping system or a tool for us to understand our personal triggers and help build resiliency. Awareness is the first step on the road to resiliency. The 4 pillars for mental toughness utilized by the Navy SEALs are: number 1, goal setting, both short and long term, which helps provide a roadmap to success. It can be big or small. Break it down into manageable bite-sized pieces. Number 2, visualization, mental rehearsal. Train the brain to realistically imagine a scenario. The brain gains awareness and responds more smoothly by the time it really happens. Number 3, positive self-talk. A lot of the time we're filled with negative and self-doubt, but consciously choosing to replace these negative thoughts or words with positive ones, we can reaffirm a positive self-image and cultivate confidence in our ability. Number 4, breath control. Slow, deep breathing can be a temporary mitigation of the sympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is then activated. And shift. S stands for stop and take a breath. H for harness your harmful knee-jerk reaction, that fight, flight, freeze, or flow. I for choose how I react. F for find new options. What has worked in the past? What didn't work in the past? Take one positive action. How can I look at this situation differently? Emotional first aid is establishing a human connection in a compassionate manner. It offers practical assistance and information to help impacted employees address their immediate needs and concerns. It provides appropriate resources that are available for the employees, such as one-on-one debriefing, group debriefings, employee assistance programs, etc. It's a connection for employees to social support networks. Emotional first aid is designed to assist the person in crisis state to return back to adaptive functioning. The goals of crisis mediation are to normalize reactions and facilitate normal recovery processes, and restore individuals to adaptive functions. It enhances unit cohesion and unit performance in a homogeneous group. It identifies individuals who may need professional assistance and referrals as necessary. Crisis mediation is not psychotherapy. It does, however, help make sense of the experience in the early stages following a traumatic event or loss. It is aimed at reducing distress, stabilizing the situation, accelerating the recovery time, and restoring function in individuals, their families, and communities. Critical incident stress management is a form of crisis intervention developed in the mid-1970s. It is still used today with some modifications. We can incorporate SOS, safety and support, EMS, emotional management and survival skills, and CPR, communication, proactive planning, and response in crisis intervention. Post-traumatic crisis mediation was associated with a reduced risk in binge drinking by 74%, alcohol dependency by 92%, major depression by 81%, anxiety disorders by 98%, post-traumatic stress disorders by 56%. Critical Incident Stress Management, or CISM, is a short-term psychological first aid intervention strategy that can help mitigate long-term mental health issues for first responders. Interventions encourage individuals to share the impact of their cognitive, emotional, and psychological symptoms that manifest as a direct result of exposure to traumatic stress. SISM aims to return those individuals to a pre-event status quicker than if left to their own devices and deter post-traumatic stress disorder. Critical incident stress debriefings are an informal setting where staff are able to talk about their concerns surrounding the critical incident in a group format and receive tools and helpful information to effectively deal with the stressors that may occur. All SISM services should be provided only by personnel who have been properly trained in critical incident stress management courses. It is also important that these services be peer-driven and always have mental health participation. All interventions are confidential unless danger to self or others. It's voluntary and should never be mandatory to attend or talk. It is not an operational debriefing, and no management is present. It is best utilized when multiple people were involved. Peer support may be better suited depending on the circumstances. Critical incident stress debriefings have far more to do with group support and assessment than it does with treatment and cure. Peer support was established to ensure staff involved in work-related critical incidents are provided with mediation and available resources to treat the immediate effects of a traumatic incident. SISM utilizes trained peers for one-on-one assistance and in group settings along with trained mental health professionals. Peer support is not a replacement for EAP, SISM, chaplains, or mental health professionals. Not everyone needs professional psychological therapy, but everyone can benefit from peer or chaplain support. Heroes are human too. It's okay to talk about. Research shows that peer-to-peer is often the most accepted and effective at overcoming mental wellness adversity. Firehouse, station, or base talk. Trained peer support personnel know what to say and what not to say. Peer support is like bleeding control. It may need further interventions depending on the severity, or a parachute that softens or lessens the impact. Why do we sometimes eat our own and yet we can be very supportive and defend our peers? When was the last time you asked someone, "How are you doing?" Not just a greeting, but truly want to know or help. Or maybe just, "Let's go have a cup of coffee." We are accustomed to making our emotions to protect ourselves, our family, our patients, our customers, and others. That's okay as long as we are situationally, emotionally aware. Our skin, or reality, is not the same as someone else's. We can't let it be detrimental to our emotional well-being or that of others. It's like an onion, some thick layers, some thin layers. By taking the issue of mental wellness seriously, we can mitigate many of these contributing factors that later lead to the very mental wellness issues that we wish to avoid. We can't afford to lose those that serve. The right investment in personnel pays off in a better organization. Research has shown that early intervention after a critical incident or a traumatic event can mitigate or lessen the effects of stress and trauma until more professional help can be accessed, if additional assistance is needed. How do you come home? Do you live with another life form? Do they try to engage you? Who are you? Are you still on duty? Are you detached, angry, exhausted, or numb? Are you yellow or red? Green is ready, yellow is reacting, orange injured, red is ill. Remember the biological roller coaster and common reactions under stress. Are you exhibiting any of those? Make gentle adjustments, like a plane or a sailboat on a course. They shouldn't have to make a quick turn. It's unsafe. If they do have to do that, then they weren't paying attention or being situationally aware. Or sometimes it's just out of control. But either way, we must stay alert for safety, physical and emotional. Look at your calendar. How many things are in there that are about taking care of yourself? Up to 76% of people show signs or symptoms of distress within 24 hours of a critical incident. Peer support may be their only access to emotional first aid. Individuals are often resistant to seeking mental health treatment. Early mediation can reduce the emotional recovery time after a traumatic event. Peer support provides a safe and confidential environment in which employees can discuss their feelings and symptoms. It provides expert-level feedback concerning their reactions experienced. It normalizes the feelings and reactions employees are experiencing. A peer support program member can offer support to staff who cannot leave their post or location if the department or agency has a peer support team. It facilitates individual support in a neutral and comfortable setting with like peers. Organizational benefits of a peer support team is retention, increased job satisfaction, increased cohesiveness and performance, decreased cost of new hire training, decreased cost of sick time, decreased cost of overtime, decreased lost productivity, decreased customer complaints. Peer support teams should consist of staff who have shown the desire to help other employees and have been peer support trained. They should be compassionate employees who've been trained to listen and be observant, trained to identify the specific resources available to best serve the employee's needs after the employee is exposed to a traumatic event. Peer support teams should consist of staff who have shown the desire to help other employees and have been trained in peer support. They should be compassionate employees who have been trained to listen and be observant. They should be trained to identify the specific resources available to best serve the employee's needs after the employee is exposed to a traumatic event. They should be reactive to workers' distress and proactive in psychological health and early detection, and be preventive by promoting information, support, and referral if necessary. Peer support members are volunteers. They should consist of specially selected fellow staff who are trained in providing peer support, psychological first aid, crisis mediation, and a liaison to resources assisting in the overall health and well-being of coworkers. Trained peer support personnel offer practical assistance and information to help impacted staff address their immediate needs and concerns. They can provide support, resources, and follow-up. It's important to select the right people for a peer support team. Peer support teams should meet and train regularly, and peer support teams need to support each other with their emotional wellness. The right word at the right time from one who has genuine desire to help can be of enormous benefit in the mitigation and even the alleviation of human suffering. Look, is the area safe and confidential? Listen with your eyes, ears, and heart. Show a caring presence. Link to resources, support system, professionals, etc. And later conduct follow-up and offer support and resources again. Peer support members should be aware of burnout or compassion fatigue in the event they experience this themselves as a result of providing peer support. Whether it be critical incident stress management, peer support, or emotional first aid, none of them are operational critiques. They're debriefings, but not operational debriefings. It is not a substitute for psychotherapy. It is not a standalone. It is not a cure for post-traumatic stress disorder. It's not counseling. It's not mental health treatment. Peer support personnel can refer staff to EAP for these other types of services. Whether it be critical incident stress management, psychological first aid, or peer support, confidentiality is very important. Peer support personnel must keep that trust. The only exceptions are any intent to harm themselves or others and must be reported appropriately. Peer support is not there to hear the facts of the incident or conduct an operational critique, but to provide support and resources to the staff that ensure they have what they need emotionally. Time for a little light-hearted cartoon. His name is Bradshaw. He says he understands I came from a single-parent den with inadequate role models. He senses that my dysfunctional behavior is shame-based and codependent and urges me to let my inner cub heal. I say we eat him. There are many pieces to the puzzle of emotional wellness and many resources. We have peer support, CISM, HR, EAP, Red Cross, churches, chaplains, crisis call centers, suicide lifelines, 211 referrals, financial assistance, mental health, Code Green campaign, and many others that I've listed on the Cal-AAMS website. Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. Just like we review and update as needed our PAIP procedure, we should also plan, initiate, act, and prepare for our emotional needs.
Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer who lost a horse, ran away. And all the neighbors came round that evening and said, "That's too bad." And he said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back and brought 7 wild horses with it. And all the neighbors came around and said, "Why, that's great, isn't it?" And he said, "Maybe." The next day, his son was attempting to tame one of these horses and was riding it and was thrown and broke his leg. And all the neighbors came round in the evening and said, "Well, that's too bad, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." And the next day, the conscription officers came around looking for people for the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. And all the neighbors came round that evening and said, "Isn't that wonderful?" And he said, "Maybe." The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity, and it is really impossible to tell whether anything that happens in it is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequences of a misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequences of good fortune.
I want to take a moment to remember those that we've lost, whether it be line of duty death, sickness, injury, or suicide. Socrates, know thyself. Mark Twain, the two most important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you figured out why. Abraham Lincoln, in the end, it's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years. Mother Teresa, it is the greatest of all mistakes to do nothing because you can only do a little. Do what you can. Viktor Frankl, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Let's put the pieces of the puzzle together. Let's connect the dots. Let's make sense of it all. Let's continue to accept and initiate change. Let's never stop learning and experience life. Let's open our minds to the endless possibilities.
Imagine the idea that the moment you were born, you were kicked off the edge of a precipice, and you were falling. As you fell, a great lump of rock came with you, and is traveling alongside you. And you're clinging to it for dear life, and thinking, gee, I've got to hold on to this, you see? Well, it doesn't do a thing for you. And it's only making you anxious. And it's only when you understand that it doesn't do a thing for you that you let go and relax. So everybody's in this situation. We're all completely insecure. We're all headed straight for death as if we had been condemned by a judge. And yet here we are all clinging on to things. And we have all sorts of alibis for doing this. We say, well, I have responsibilities for my dependents and I've got to cling on. But all you're doing is you're teaching your dependents to cling the same way as you are. And making them miserable by learning to go on surviving compulsively. So the thing is, same way, if you're caught in a torrent and you try to get out of it by swimming against it, you'll just wear yourself out and you're still carried along with it. So the sensible thing to do is to turn around and swim with it. And if you want to get out of it, swim towards the edge. But go with it. Same way when you're sailing. Always keep the wind in your sails. If you want to go against the wind, tack. But use the wind. So it's this way, we're all in this great stream of change, which we call life. We are the stream. If you imagine you're separate from it and you're being carried along by it as if you were a cork, that's a delusion. You're a wave of the stream itself. So get with it.
In summary, give SOS. Help someone with survival skills or support services. Stand up for safety. Apply EMS skills, emotional management and survival skills. Provide CPR, communication, proactive planning, and response. Where do we go from here? Start by being proactive. In a blink of an eye, our world has changed. We're almost 2 years into a global pandemic, an international economic crisis, and the inability to find a good movie on Netflix is less than 20 seconds. It's staggering the hundreds of millions of people across the world have experienced some form of city, state, or government-related shutdown. I personally witnessed over the past year and a half the shutdown of the human spirit. Do you have too many lemons to make lemonade? Then make a small batch. Take baby steps, or start small if that's all you can do. Start with something you can realistically accomplish, but do something. Don't let the tea kettle become a pressure cooker. What lies ahead for you? Although the pandemic is not over, we need to take action to decrease the emotional impact it has created. Inspire yourself. Be your own thought leader. Build a culture of wellness and resiliency. A culture of wellness and resiliency begins with awareness. People who are healthy physically are better able to face the emotional and psychological challenges of working in EMS. Do something for your emotional wellness. Find your purpose. We are all human. Everyone is different and has different needs. Exercise, get outdoors, go see a movie, or whatever works for you, but do something. We are expected to cope with challenges, so I challenge you. We not only need to take care of ourselves, but we also need to take care of each other. Because, after all, isn't that part of our profession? Watch out for signs and symptoms in your coworkers, friends, or family of stress. But remember, we can't continue to take care of others if we can't take care of ourselves. GTS. Google that shit. There are resources out there just waiting for you to tap into them. I've listed some on the Cal-AAMS website. And find your passion. There is no greater calling in the world than service to others. Those who provide emergency medical services to our community deserve nothing less than our best effort to ensure they do with our full support, including for their mental health. Look for opportunities to grow, learn, and become resilient. My goal for you is to have a long, healthy, happy career and life.